Today I'm making the beautiful, what I'm calling a chain link fence quilt block. This thing was a lot of work, I'm not going to lie to you, but look how beautiful this is. Honestly, I really love it. I call it chain link fence because it wraps around like a chain link fence. Anyhow, I was going to call this an intermediate project, but honestly, a beginner can do this as long as you know how to create a half square triangle and a half quarter triangle. So I'm going to show you basically how this design was done. I'm going to set this guy aside for a minute, all right? We'll come back to him. Now, this whole thing, I've even got a sheet of notes because this one did have some complexity to it, especially when I'm counting out how many of each to do. I don't know. I'm just going to show you what I did, and you can take it and adapt it if you need to. First, we need some half square triangles. Now, I started with 10-inch square pieces of fabric, and I cut 8 at a time. It's a video we've done before on how you can do 8 at a time. I did that many because it's nice to have extra pieces. This pattern repeats a lot. Okay, so I have 3 types of HSTs. The dark blue and the flower, which make up the fence part, and the flower with the background, my background's yellow, and the blue with the background yellow. So if you can create your HSTs there, that's the first part of this. Now, the next part, and don't trim any of your HSTs yet, and there's a reason why. The next part of this is some of the pieces of this quilt block require half-quarter triangles. Now, how do you make a half-quarter triangle? Well, you take our HSTs, the ones that have the yellow on them, okay? And you cut a plain piece of fabric of the other fabric. So I cut a plain piece of fabric of the flower. These measure 4.5 inches at this point. I started, you know, they were starting off at 5, but when you actually make the HST, they ended up 4.5. So I cut a 4.5 square of the flower and a 4.5 inch square of the blue. And you put these on top of each other, right sides together. And then you draw a diagonal. Not the diagonal you already have. It goes the other direction, and so a 1/4 inch on either side of that, okay? That's how the half-quarter triangle works. Now, I've got this mock-up right here of the 2 that I have done, all right? I've drawn the line, you can see in the center perhaps, but more importantly, I have sewn a 1/4 inch on both sides of that line. So when I do that, I'm going to cut these apart. Oh, you know what I'm going to do first? Let me take my pins out. I had a couple of pins in there just to hold this together. And now we can cut these guys apart. There's 2. And now here's the other 2. So the half-quarter triangle, when I open these up, you can see we've got the large blue side and then a 1/2 and 1/2 on either one. This makes 2 of them in opposite directions, and then the other one makes the other 2 with the big flower side. So these are the only ones you need to make one repeat of the chain link pattern. You know, the chain link thing looked big, right? I showed you a big version of it. It's really a series of 8 little squares together. That is the repeat. That's what I'm going to show you how to create. If you can create that, you just repeat it over and over for as large as you want. So these basically are the pieces to the puzzle. You have these HSTs with the yellow backing. You have the HST, which is both of your prints, and then you make the 1/4 square triangles, all right? So simply enough, at this point, when you have made the 1/4 square triangles, you can trim all of your quilt blocks, except don't trim those half yellows up there, okay? You may still need those to make more half-quarter triangles later. You can trim all of your other quilt blocks, though, to be 4 inches square. And at that point, you're good to go. So once you've trimmed these to be 4 inches, all you have left to do now is lay out the pattern. And this is how it goes. First, it's the pattern on pattern. Oh, sorry, at that point you need to cut some solid yellows, also 4 inches square, because that's the new size of this, all right? And on one repeat, you only need 2 of those. So here's how the pattern gets laid out. And when I finish laying this out, I'm gonna advise you to screenshot it, because when you look at all these pieces together, sometimes it confused my brain, I'll be honest with you. But this, my friends, is the pattern. And if we look at the original that I showed you here, I can fold this up. So we're only looking at the repeat, just like we have next to it here, okay? Can you see that now? I think you can see all those together. This is the actual quilt block that then gets repeated across and down. And here it is laid out in individual squares. So just like any other quilt block, you sew these in together in twos, twos, twos. Even if I had some here, I'd go twos, 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 and then start joining them and then join your rows together. So it was a learning curve. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a lot of work, but I really loved it. And now this large one that I made finishes out at about 21 by 28 inches. And you can see, here's the repeat right here. These 8 squares, right? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I repeated this 6 times for a 21 by 28 giant piece in front of you. I hope you like this. I love the effect of this. It really is a good, it's a really great exercise. I hope you will try it, and happy sewing.